YouTube. Welcome to my channel today, guys. My name is Anna, your online therapist in the making. Disclaimer, please. This is information purposes only. If you need actual help, please make sure you contact a licensed therapist, okay? Yes, I know everyone's asking what happened. We didn't see you last Tuesday. Well, guys, I took a little break, like a staycation. And I think I needed one because I did a video and I was like, I'm not feeling it. So I just cut it. Sorry. But thank you all so much for letting me know. I appreciate that. Anyway, so I took a complete, I just skipped over. I just jumped. Like, I'm done with behavior analysis, guys. Like, let's move on to something else. So, this week, first and foremost, I'd like to give honor to whom honor is due. Congratulations, America. We are back on the spinning wheel. We've been Sleeping Beauty, but I think it's safe to say the prince has awoken the Sleeping Beauty. Right? So, guys, straight to business. I'm here for business. I'm here to talk to you guys about mental health, guys. So this topic is definitely about mental health, but I'm going to start with mental health disorders, especially two that are easily mistaken for one another, okay? I'm going to be talking about, well, let me start with one. Have you ever heard of bipolar disorder? Let me give you a hint. A producer, musician, very popular, married to a very wealthy someone, keeping up with, yes, see, he's come forward and actually publicly stated that he has it, so no shame in him, please. It's just so important not to shame people with mental illness, because guess what? Guys, listen, my teacher told me that we are all on the spectrum, okay? Some of us are less crazy. Some of us are a little crazy with a pinch of salt. And some of us got too much. But first of all, let me define mental health according to Oxford Language Dictionary, okay? It says that mental health is the state of a person's mental health, with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being, okay? So we're going to be referring, when we say mental health, we mean psychological and emotional well-being. You hear it often where people say things like, they had a bad day, they had a rough day, they flew off the handle in anger, and so on. So a lot of things that people don't realize is mental health is an everyday thing. It's not like you're mentally ill and tomorrow you're not. You have to, how do I put it? You have to be invested in your mental well-being. You have to be invested in your psychological and emotional well-being on a daily basis. I mean, look at what happened to the US Capitol. Yes, that really, really scared a lot of people in the building and a lot of us watching, because like, how is that possible? That's the US Capitol. How is that possible? But it did happen, so oftentimes things can stress your mental capacity, especially if there are new things that you've never experienced. It can happen, that can happen. So when it comes to psychological and emotional health, it is so important that you take every feedback. You see, a lot of us take stress for granted, a lot of us take fatigue for granted, a lot of us take depression for granted. These are mental cues as to the state of your psychological and emotional well-being. What I'm simply trying to say is, when you feel a little mentally tired, when you feel exhausted, when you feel depressed, unhappy, frustrated. So when you feel stressed, when you feel depressed, let down, hopeless, despair. These things give you a hint, a sign, a signal as to your emotional or psychological well-being, and that means you need to take a break. You need to get help and support to return to a centered state of mind. And a lot of times people take these things for granted, and the repercussions often end up in mental illness, which is what I'm going to talk about. Okay, so mental illness means you have irregular thought process and perception of things. Okay, now I want to dissociate, I want to explain, okay, the difference between mental illness and intellectual disability. Okay, my teacher was spot on with this, because it's like, oh, I see. Okay, so guys, let's distinguish the difference between a certain form of mental illness and a certain form of intellectual disability. They're two separate things. People always mix them up all the time, and this is really it's kind of inappropriate to refer to someone with an intellectual disability as having a mental illness, and vice versa. Okay, so first of all, irregular thought process and perception. Okay, that's a mental illness. Oftentimes, a situation or experience can make someone have a sudden lapse in mental judgment. It could be shock, it could be grief, it could be anger, you know, something that could trigger a person to act irrationally. Remember, being irrational means acting against your own self-interest. Just remember that. While as intellectual disabilities, thoughts are bound by cognitive ability and understanding. What this simply means is a person with intellectual disability is kind of narrowed, focused, like they can only think to the level of their mental capability. Okay, while with mental illness, it's irregular thought process and perception, basically how you see something. Intellectual is your understanding. It's like, I hope I'm not mixing up that definition, but basically when it's intellectual, it's you have the mind of a 3-year-old, even though you have the body of a 25-year-old. Okay, so it's a capacity thing. Like, you haven't developed beyond a certain capacity, so you see everything on the plane of a 3-year-old, even though you have the body of a 25-year-old or older. Whereas mental illness is you can function properly. It's just that, you know, after you lost somebody, you went crazy. Do you understand? It's like after you were heartbroken, you became suicidal. So it's more triggered. It's more irregular. You've gone away from your normal line of thought into something more negative, more dangerous, or even sometimes more inappropriate. You know, it's just like laughing instead of crying, because it's a coping mechanism, basically. Another one is it can happen at any time in terms of mental illness. Mental illness can happen at any time. Like I said, it could be triggered by grief, it could be triggered by betrayal, it could be triggered by a breakup, it could be triggered by loss of a child. You have women who have postpartum depression. You know, that's a mental illness due to the birth of the baby and some changes in their hormones. But intellectual disability usually starts before 18. Okay, so remember, when it comes to intellectual disability, it means to stop growing mentally. Your psychological and emotional growth is stunted, you know, due to some genetic disease or some foreign mutation or things like that. Basically, instead of it to grow, just like you have physical disabilities where you could be born with them, Okay, not we're talking about why it's before 18. You're born with something, just like you could be born with a physical disability, you could be born with a intellectual disability. That means your brain stops developing at a certain age, and then you just that's you see everything at that age. So it usually starts before 18, but mental illness can happen at any time. Okay, usually we don't want to classify children as having mental illness, because the signs and symptoms of mental illness is children's typical imaginary um, fun space. Okay, another thing is a mental illness may not last long. With proper support, with therapy, with timely diagnosis, with medication for some people, and then alternative medication therapy, you could get better. You know, the idea is consistent, positive, reinforced support and assistance. You could get back to normalcy. You know, find love again. Walk through grief with time, learn to live with grief, learn to process the grief, learn to, you know, when women have rainbow babies after miscarriage, the baby brings life back to them if they had been suffering some form of mental illness due to the initial loss. But see, intellectual disability is for life, okay? A child living with autism doesn't suddenly stop having autism after they're 50. If anything, it is diagnosed much later. Okay, um, so mental illness is a short-term situation, but intellectual disability is long-term. All right, and lastly, like I said, medication can help with mental illness to calm your nerves, to redirect your attention, to knock you out in some cases, you know. Whereas with intellectual disability, medicine cannot improve um, their cognitive ability. Okay, so guys, now that I've distinguished between mental illness and intellectual disability, let's go into mental illness. Okay, two mental illnesses that are pretty popular. The first one is schizophrenia, which is a psychotic disorder, and the other one is bipolar disorder, which is mood disorder. Okay, remember when we said mental illness is the stability of your psychological and emotional well-being. Okay, schizophrenia affects the psychological aspect, while bipolar affects the emotional aspect. Because when you talk about mood, you're talking about the state of your emotions. You're feeling moody, you're sad, you're depressed. It's mood. But a psychological disorder is more an internal mental makeup. It has to do with the wiring of your brain. Okay, so mood is emotion, psychological is more brain malfunction, brain disorders and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to move into I'm going to explain these two, what they really mean, and really delve into them. So I want you to, you know, take a look around, but this is going to be my next episode. Okay, guys, I do not like to have my videos go beyond 15. I'm already, you know, pretty close to it. So, and there's a whole lot to pack in these mental illnesses, talking about schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And oftentimes people have both. And most people have one or the other, but a few people have both, which is called a schizoaffective disorder, which is, I mean, it's a daunting disorder, mental illness to have, basically, because not only does it affect your ability to be independent and sociable, it also affects your safety, and there's a whole lot of things. And you need people who understand this illness and who are close and supportive to be able to get out of it, to be able to live through and get better and improve. Otherwise, there's a lot of misunderstanding where people do not get it, or it's not diagnosed early. So guys, look out for next video where we're going to be talking about schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And look around, think of situations or people that might make you feel like there's something, you know, usually schizophrenia or bipolar, you know, these are like you notice somebody was fine and suddenly they're no longer fine. You know, that's how you know mental illness, when someone deviates from their usual personality and it's like he wasn't like that before, she wasn't like that before, something happened, they snap, you know. Oftentimes a lot more care and compassion and early diagnosis, medication can help people restore to their you know, sociable mental status. Okay, so I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for listening, watching, and sharing. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share these videos. All right, guys, I will see you. Take care.